My name is Ashley Robinson, and I'm the editor of Spud. I hope you all were able to tune in yesterday and visit the Spud Shed in Exhibition Hall. I love getting the chance to speak with you and seeing your questions in the chat boxes during the sessions. Lots of really great conversations happened. Also, I know there's been quite a few of you racking up points in our little competition. It's great to see everyone taking part in the Congress. I checked the leaderboard last night and I see that Colby Robertson, Leonard Wassenagel, and Ryan Callahan are in the lead. So keep it up today, guys, and everyone else, please try and beat them. There's cash on the line and, more importantly, bragging rights. So make sure to take part in the Congress today and up your chances to win some prizes. Yesterday was fun, and I'm really looking forward to today. We have another great slate of sessions lined up for your enjoyment. Thank you once again to our session sponsor, Corteva. We could never have done this without you. We also had support from a number of companies to pull off the whole Congress. Thank you to all of our sponsors for your support. I know you've all been sharing away on social media about the Congress. I've been tweeting like crazy, I will admit. I love attending conferences and getting to share all the interesting tidbits I learn. If you are posting, please make sure to hashtag everything with SpudCon. Okay, I think we're just about ready to start on day 2. So please get comfy in your seats with a cup of coffee, or for those on a later time zone, maybe you're drinking something a bit stronger. But relax and get ready to learn some stuff. If you have any questions for our presenters, please type them in the chat box. All of our presenters will be live online during their presentations to answer any questions you may have, so please ask away. Our first presentation today is about digitizing your field records with Chris Van Thun and John Pascarek presenting. Chris is a senior product owner with the Farm Credit Canada Ag Expert team, and John is a product specialist with the Ag Expert team. Thank you both so much for being here today, and I'm looking forward to learning more about digital farm records.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our session on digitizing your field records. I am John Pascarek. I'm a product specialist here with the Ag Expert team, and I'm joined today by Chris Van Thun, senior product owner for Ag Expert Field. And today we're going to talk to you about how the digitization of your farm, can really save you time. It can cut down on your paperwork and increase efficiencies on your farm. Ag Expert's been working, with the potato industry now for over a decade, and really working to streamline that flow of data from the field to the processor. And we've made several enhancements, especially in the past year, tailored specifically for the Canadian potato producer. And we're super excited today to show you what we've been working on, and also, most importantly, how the digitization of your records can really improve your record keeping overall. So we built easy to use digital solutions to help you with both your field record keeping as well as your bookkeeping. So Chris is going to start today by showing you a bit about Ag Expert Field and some of the key features that we've built that really help you, track all the activities on your fields with ease and provide you very valuable financial dashboards and inventory reports, and also some auto-populated Canada Gap forms and sustainability reports. So I'm going to jump in the last bit to show you a bit about the accounting side of things. So without further ado, Chris, over to you.
Thank you, John. Hello, everyone. As John mentioned, my name is Chris Van Thun, and I am the product owner at Ag Expert Field. I'm excited for the opportunity today to showcase our new field management software, focusing on features that we built specific to potato growers' needs. Over the next 20 minutes, my goal is to give you a foundational understanding of our software by showing how to set up your fields, track your field activities, and manage inventory. Overall, to give insight to the value of digitizing your field records and how we at Ag Expert are striving to make it solid and simple. So with that in mind, let's jump into Ag Expert Field. All right, so here we are in Ag Expert Field. So I've already gone ahead and I've gone to agexpert.ca and I've signed up for an Ag Expert Field account. A couple of things to note. For today's demo, I'll be spending my time on the web version of our application, but know that there is a mobile app for Ag Expert Field, both on iOS and Android devices. One thing to note, when you first come into Ag Expert Fields, one of the things you want to be sure you do as a potato grower is go into the More section and our settings page. In there, you'll note we have the option to turn on potato features. And we do that just so we can unlock some of the data functionality for entering information specific for potatoes. If this were off, then it would hide that information for those users who don't grow potatoes. So we want to make sure that that is kept on. And another thing I'd note before I hop into the application and start adding those things and running the functionality that I spoke about earlier with setting up a field, tracking your activities, managing your inventory, is that we also have a migration tool for our FM Pro users. So for those of you who have used our Field Manager Pro software, you have the ability to migrate your records from past growing seasons into Ag Expert Field using that tool. All right, so with that in mind, let's hop into the application. I'll walk through some of that key foundational functionality we spoke of, or I've spoke of earlier. So when you first come to our Ag Expert Field software, we have a dashboard page just to allow users to see some information when they first arrive, primarily around inventory and how much you have in the bin and how much of that is contracted, and any contracts closing in the near future. From there, we're going to start off with our fields and setting up a field, and then tracking activities against the field. So in Ag Expert Field, the field is really the center part of our application. It allows users to track activities against fields. For instance, if I look at potato fields I have set up already and go into one of those examples, you see for every field, we allow users by tracking those activities everywhere from planting all the way to harvest, and seeing that information on a map. We can track and start to see what's the rotation for that field. So we go back 5 years and show the rotation to our users, including from a crop perspective and from a crop protection product perspective. So you can see that rotation as well. See your yields if there's a harvest record on your field. See that information as you track your activities. You can see your input. So as you have multiple spraying or fertilizing activities, we'll start to see to generate the total volume for that particular seed, fertilizer, manure, or crop protection product, as well as your cost per acre. And you can associate labor and equipment with activities as well. Again, for that same reason, if you want to track your per acre cost or your equipment cost associated with pulling steel across the field. Ultimately, generating that production cost per acre, which is of value for our users. Because I have that potato setting on, because I went ahead and turned that on, you can also track some information associated if there's unique IDs for your field for your processors. This is an area that we're building up as we work closely with processors on what information we need to track there. And then a section for operating costs. So those are variable expenses that are outside of field activities. You can also cost. So when it comes to fuel, land rent, and insurance needs, you can track that at a per acre or total cost for your field. So that's the type of information you can capture, roll up, and see at that field level. So let's go ahead and first set up a field. Then we'll track some of the activities so we can get an appreciation of what information is tracked when doing an activity. And then we'll wrap it up with some contract and grain or inventory management activities as well. And then lastly, just that value of tracking your field activities and the idea that you enter information once, you can use multiple times. We'll dive into some reporting needs as well, or reporting offers as well, so you can see the value of tracking activities from Canada GAAP perspective, as well as some other reporting offerings. So setting up a new field. For those of you who migrate across from FM Pro, that information will be brought across as part of the migration, so your fields will be set up in that process. Otherwise, there's actually 4 ways to do it. The fourth being that you don't see here, which would be a John Deere Op Center. You can import your field boundaries from your John Deere Op Center account as well. But otherwise, the 3 ways we offer for our users to set up their fields. One is to click on a map, which works well for those growers in Western Canada who are in the Dominion Land Survey, we can just click on the map and it'll set up your boundaries. So I'll show you what that looks like in a second. Otherwise, you can draw your field by tracing the boundaries, or you can import from a shape file, which is an option as well. So let's go ahead and click on the map experience. So the first thing it would be to identify where your field is on a map. So let's go to my hometown here, go to field. You have to engage with the map to set up your boundaries first. So I'm going to find the field in particular I want to set up for. Go there, click on a map, and then two things happen. On the right here, you'll see we're going to bring in total area based on your click. So we've drawn the boundaries because this is that one click experience. Based on a quarter, you can still change the boundaries if you see fit. And we'll update the acres. And then you'll notice we're pulling in total area and then area based on legal land. So if your field were to go across multiple legal lands there, we'll be able to help generate the number of acres per legal land. And then from here, all we require users is to give it a unique field name. And if you so choose, you can update all this information based on your operation and some knowledge you have about your field. And then from there, because you're a potato grower, we unlock some additional information that may be important, some processor field IDs, and some information around your pump data. So if you're an irrigation operation and it's important to track your pump data for sustainability reporting, we can just put some information in here as well. Click to save, and just like that, you've set up your field. So go into adding a new field, interact with the map, give it a unique name, and then you'll see it in our pick list here. So after you have your fields set up and after you have the boundaries set up, that's when you can start adding activities to it. So that's where I'll go next. So we set up a field. We're going to add activities. I'll focus in on planting, some spraying activities, and of course, wrap it up with some harvest activities. I'm going quickly through that, explaining how we use inputs and associate products with those activities, and you can see that cost of production start to generate. So two places you can add an activity from that field page itself, or I can go to this activities dashboard here, which gives you a nice breakdown of all your activities for the year. If you want to see some certain spray activities for your potato fields, this is where you can go and gives you all your activities across your farm for that growing season. Click to add activity here. You can add a planting activity for that field I just added. I'll give you a second to see this is the type of activities we allow users to track an Ag Expert field. So again, everything from planting to harvest and in between, including some special ones because I turn on the potato features again, such as hailing, excuse me. But click on plant. We're going to do the field just created. And then from here, whether you're planting or you're spraying or anything in between, you're going to see a consistent experience, and that will allow users to do a planned or completed activity. So based on your preferences, you may want to set up your activities ahead of time and as a planned, or you can do it in the moment as a completed using that mobile device. From there, we'll track our inputs. This is a planting activity, so I can track a seed input and a fertilizer input. For seed input, click on choose here. I have a pick list of everything I've set up ahead of time that I can choose from. So I can choose one of these potato varieties that I've already set up. Or if I'm doing it in the moment, I'm doing it on the fly, you can set up a new seed. And that experience would look like this, where you get to select what you're setting up. seed, the variety. So we have a pick list of varieties that you can choose from. Very comprehensive list. Here, if we didn't have a particular seed variety, you do have the ability to add one specifically for your operation, and then we'll be notified in the background in case we want to add it to the master list for everyone to use. But for now, I'll pick one that's existing. Then you can set up your pricing information. Your seeding rate, which will default for your activity. Again, you can update that though, based on what your actuals you put down, but this would just be for most common seeding rates. And then harvesting units if you want to change that as well. And you can add any notes or additional information you want with that particular seed. Click to save. And then I can start using that particular seed for this activity on this field. So I'm planting on the Spud Congress field again. So you can see I brought in that information from my seed, the rate. Like I said, though, you can update it to actuals based on what you put on that field, based on what you know. This is, again, information you can enter also on your phone while you're in the field. Seed class, you can set that up. Certification number. This is a memorized box, meaning our text box. So meaning if you already had a seed certification number for this particular variety, we'd be able to let you pick from that pick list. Row spacing and seed depth, optional fields, but you can track that as well. For your own record keeping sake. Legal land, again, we pulled this in from the field. So by setting up your field, by mapping those boundaries and seeing the legal lands, you can also track that, and that's value add for organizing your data for crop insurance reporting. Any seed treatments, similar experience that we had with seed, but in this case, we're going to be pulling from a pick list of crop protection products. Pull something like that in. Turn some label instructions involved. That's an example of some data that's important for food safety programs such as Canada Gap. You can turn that information on, and then we'll check a box on the H1 report. And then, of course, when you seed, you may also be applying fertilizer. So we have that information as well. Again, some additional information that is associated with Canada Gap and other reporting needs. And this is an example of having that memorized experience for a lot number. We won't be seeding in February, so I'll just fast forward to the end of the month. You can do this again as a planned activity. If you were doing actual activity in the moment, we can pull weather. So as I switch from planned to completed and I had the date, we'd be able to pull the weather in for that particular field. And then this experience from your dates down would be consistent across all activities, so you can track the date and the equipment you want to associate with this particular activity, and any people you want associated with this particular activity. You can track that information again for cost of production reasons. Attachments, if you have some sort of additional information you want to attach to this activity, you can do so there, as well as put some additional information around the activity. You can just do some notes there as well. All right, with that in mind, click to save. And we saved that particular activity. You start seeing those totals, cost production totals. So going back to that field, we have our planned activity as well, and the other activities as it's shown before. So you can initiate activities from your activities page or from the field itself. Go straight to that field. You can also do spraying. Similar experience. But in this case, if you're just spraying a fungicide on the particular field, pick it from the pick list, set up a new one if it's on your list already, and then you just fill out the information. And you can do it either from your phone or from web. Turn on particular fields that unlock by us turning on the potato setting. You can track your pests if you so choose. And then, of course, do your date, equipment, signed, and weather. All information that we're pulling in consistently for all our activities. Just going to go ahead and future and save that. Now, if you're doing a spraying activity or a fertilizer activity or an activity across multiple fields, you can do that as well. So if you're using the same product across more than one field, I could say, hey, I'm going to spray all my potato fields today. You can have that functionality as well, where you can select more than one field for an activity. I'll just give you a little notification of which fields you're spraying, but then the experience is repeated. So I'm going to take fungicide, apply it to all these fields using the same method, date, equipment, assignee, information then repeats. Apply one. Click the save, and then you're saving that information once, but you're applying it to all those fields. So you can see one saved activity generated multiple spraying activities, saving time and effort by doing once and applying to multiple fields. So that's the experience you'd expect to have, which each time you're tracking activities, and as of course you track those activities, you start seeing those inputs be tracked as well. Start seeing that cost production for each of your fields. And then lastly, as I've gone through, so we've set up the field, tracked a couple activities, spray, plant, and now we're moving towards the inventory side of things. So now we're going to harvest potato crop, and I'll associate it with a bin, so you can see that lineage from putting from seeding to harvesting from a crop and then putting it to the storage location. So we've done the planting, we've done some spraying. Now we're just going to dive into harvest. So once again, similar experience. We're associating it, an input to an activity. In this case, we already know what's been seeded on the field, so we're going to go ahead and default the harvest activity to that particular crop. So we're pulling in that information for our field. Again, have some legal land information for crop insurance reporting, so some value there of tracking that at the field levels. You can see it at also the you can see it at the harvest activity as well. I've set up my particular one in tons, so I'm just going to throw out a number there. You can do per acre or in total. So again, some production site assess, so that's just once again for Canada GAAP reporting and for food and safety program reporting. You can turn that on. Associate it with bins, potato storage. Even here. So I can go ahead and put an activity from a field into a storage location, one or many. You can associate multiple storage locations for a single harvest activity. From there, you see some of the availability, the bin. You can fill to the capacity of what's in there. $100. Correction here from the math. So 10 tons per acre. See, I can bring those, associate my bin name. So that's my bin name, put in grading information that's appropriate. And what will happen there is make an inventory adjustment on your storage location. I'll show you that in a second. It saves you time of entering that data twice. You can enter it on your harvest activity and it'll show up in your bin. Tracking your activity. Let's go ahead and do that. Future date. Click to save. So a couple things will happen. Of course, you're going to have that activity show up on your field. You're going to start seeing that particular yield information. And then when I go to inventory, and that's inventory similar to our experience with fields, gives you the ability to track all your bins and your storage locations for your grain, or in this case, your potatoes. So I go to the bin that I just put that harvest in, and then there you can see that particular potato crop from that particular field, Spud Congress, and then we made the adjustment because the storage location is 100 weight to how much to put into this bin. And you can see other fields that came into this bin as well. There from the history, you can see what's been in and out of your bin. You can also print out that information. So that's going from the field and seeding it all the way to your storage location and your bin, and seeing what's in your bin for your product. All right, and that are the basics, as I mentioned, the foundational information I want to share with you today as far as how to set up a field, interacting with that map, the options for tracking activities, and the value of having that input information associated with an activity, and then seeing that activity information flow to your inventory and then to your bin, and then seeing that information readily available for at the stored inventory level. The value of all that information by tracking your field activities, you can see in your reporting. So for those in Canada GAAP, you can, by tracking your activities and seeing your spray activities, your fertilizer activities, your harvest activities, we can take that information and populate your H1, your H2 for equipment, because you can track your maintenance activities. We can do your I report and your P1 report, which is the idea of the harvest and storing of the potatoes. So for your H1, and that's the ability to track and show your spray records. Potato fields, you can say which fields you're going to run your H1 reports for. Click to download. And then that's going to generate your H1 report. So it looks like this. Pulling in your seed treatments, your fungicide applications, your desiccants, and then you can see the information filled out for you. So taking that value of tracking your field activities and populating it onto a form, and then filling in information so you can just have more of a sign to submit experience. So that would be the same if you're doing your fertilizer H2 or your P1 report, just the format and look would change, but the same concept would be true. And then on the crop insurance side, so again, because we have that legal land area information and we see that on your seeded acre report, you can start to see the value of that as well, where we can then roll up that information. You can see your potatoes, not based not just on field, but also at your quarter level here. So with that field we just set up, you can see 2 lines, one for each of the quarter section was set up for. And then of course your seeded acre and your seeded date imported information for crop insurance. That as well. Harvest production report would be the same, but just at the end of your growing season, you'll be able to see not only your seeded information, but any products applied to certain fields, and of course your production numbers that you have associated with it as well. So your fertilizer, your product, and your harvest would be additional information for the harvest production report. But the same idea, entering and tracking your activities and using that value of that data in multiple ways. Crop insurance, Canada GAAP are examples of that. input usage is a report for users where they can just see that at the product level. So if you wanted to see total usage of a particular product, you can run a report and say how much area and how much volume am I doing for certain products, both on crop protection, fertilizer, seed, and of course your total input costs at that level. Profitability, but you just start seeing that information at the farm level. So as you track your input costs, your operating costs, and you see some yields coming in and some sales price information coming in, you start tracking, of course, what is your break-even yields and sales price information for your field, and then ultimately farm level. And then last but not least, I just wanted to touch on a report we have specifically for potato growers, not just the idea of taking the information we have and make it formatted in a way for the Potato Sustainability Alliance. I should know we'll make a name change there, but the PSA report, which would be simply running it again for specific fields, just like for Canada Gap. You run the report for specific fields and then put it into a format that is readily consumable for processors' reporting needs. And I'll just bring that across here. So showing the pesticide information for that particular field and all the associated information with that. And then rolling up your fertilizer numbers and your irrigation numbers to a single field and showing for that particular field what was your harvested amount to your yield, and then your NPK, your irrigation numbers as well. So another, again, reason we have value we see from digitizing field records is then that information is presented, Canada Gap, crop insurance, input usage, profitability, sustainability reasons. So that is very much a foundational understanding of how we are doing our best are striving to allow users to easily digitize their field records and the value that comes from it. At this point, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague John, and he's going to show you a similar demo for our Ag Expert accounting software. So over to you, John.
So I'm going to start today by showing you how easy it is to actually set up a set of books. It used to be a lot more cumbersome. Today, a lot of platforms have streamlined the ability to get set up. So we're going to start by just entering our business name, the province you reside in or your farm resides in, and then your business type. So you can do, corporation, partnership, sole proprietorship. So it's really that simple. Click next. It's going to walk you through a wizard that is essentially going to auto-populate a lot of the information that was previously required to be manually entered, which I'll show you here. So you're just going to pick, what do you produce? So grains, oilseeds, and potatoes. We'll just use this as an example. Click next. And then what commodities? So do you do wheat? Do you do, barley, corn, oats? So we're just going to pick a couple of these. Click next. Some Argentine canola here, and then the types of potatoes. So say we do russets, we do some seed potatoes. We'll go next and start using Ag Expert. That's as simple as setting up a set of books is. It's going to take a couple seconds here. And what this is doing is it's actually auto-populating your chart of accounts. So there's really little setup you need to do. You don't need to link any of your accounts together as far as, income accounts to inventory accounts. The system is doing all of that for you. So our set of books is set up. On the left side here, you're going to see chart of accounts. And because we picked, everything that we grow, the system's going to automatically know types of accounts that we need. So all your inventory accounts are automatically set up, as I mentioned. linked to your inventory accounts. So income and inventory accounts are linked. So that it's all set up, it's ready to go. You can start tracking, your opening balances. You can get those entered and basically start tracking your transactions. So now that I've showed you how easy it is to get started and get a set of books set up in the system, I want to focus on the value of digitizing your books. So what it really boils down to is the accessibility to really important financial information at any point in the year. So it really makes decision making a lot easier when you have the information at your fingertips. So I'm going to start with reports. So by keeping track of your income and expenses, just your basic transactions, and we tell people this, this program is scalable. So start just by basic income and expense tracking, and you can get into things like payroll and budgeting and cash flow and management features as you go along and become more comfortable. So start with basic income and expenses. And what that will do by tracking your basic income and expenses is it'll provide you some very good reports, some very good dashboards. So we'll start with, say, an income and expense report. So if you're doing things manually, these things can be very difficult to generate. And with applications that are done digitally, you can do it with the click of a button. So start with income and expense. Click the button, very easy. As you can see, the top left-hand corner here, you can flip between cash and accrual, which accountants love. You can also filter the information by date. So you can go by month or by quarter or a custom date range, and you can filter it. And as you can see, it generates a nice, very easy to read income and expense report for the time slot that you picked. So another thing it does is net worth statement. So whether it be just for your own interest sake, or if your financial institution or your lender requests a net worth report, click of a button and it's going to generate all your assets and liabilities as of today in a nice, easy to read format. So if it is being requested by a lender, you can simply print the form and sign it and date it and either send it or email it in. So very easy to do instead of maybe a loan interview or digging up old paperwork. Click of a button and that's generated for you. Some other reports, it does tax information, so your T1273 or your T2042. Then on the right side here, your transactions. So you can do things like payable report. So all your accounts payable, you can just click the button and see all your accounts payable summarized in a nice, easy to read format. It makes managing your operation a lot easier when you have all the information at your fingertips. So account receivable report, same idea. It's all summarized in a nice, easy to read format. So speaking of accounts receivable, if you go into sales and your account receivables, so your receivables here, what you can do in a digital solution like ours is you can generate invoices. So you can create custom invoices for your operation. So if you have a receivable here, here's one for Cargill. It's just receivable. Click print invoice. You can create custom ones. You can put your logo in here if you want and create custom wording. And you can either save this and email it, or you can print it and mail it if you want to invoice that way. So some other reports, that come in real handy digitally are inventory reports. So you can see all of your inventory summarized here in a nice, easy to read format. All your inventory accounts are summarized. You can also do it as of a certain date. So if you want to go back and see historically as of a certain date what your inventory numbers were, you can do that. It also does, I will mention, does detailed inventory tracking as well. So it does agri-stability worksheets. So it handles that as well. So I know in potatoes, some provinces you have to do your perishables. So that'll all be summarized in your agri-stability worksheets here as well, which it keeps track of. Other things it does, so come tax season, we all know GST time can be quite cumbersome and time consuming. Because you've taken the time again to keep things digitally, you can generate these reports much, much more easily. So you can process it, you can generate the report. So if you just go print report, it's going to generate all of the transactions within the time period that you picked. And so you can review that. And if everything looks good, you can actually submit the GST return right to CRA from within the program. So it's just clicking that 3 little dots and then submit net file, and that will get that done for you. So as I mentioned, the platform is scalable. So once you get the basics down, you can get into things like payroll. So it does everything from handling all your employees. So you can keep track of all your employees. You can generate records of employment. You can do T4s. You can print paychecks as well, and print paychecks and pay stubs as well. So here you can see, it'll tell you if a check's been printed in the past or a stub's been printed. If you want to print a paycheck, click print paycheck. It'll create the PDF, and you can actually print it right onto a check from within the program. So summarizes all the information here on the stub as well. So it's very easy to do digitally. Makes your life a lot easier as well. So, and then again, management features. So once you get more and more comfortable, you can get into things like budgeting. So you will pull through, because you've done the income and expenses, it'll pull through your actuals into the program, and you can start setting budgets, and you can actually start seeing the variance. So you can see, where you made more than you thought, or where maybe you didn't make as much as you thought. You can start to really see it in our budgeting tools. Same thing with cash flow. It pulls everything through, so you can see cash in, cash out, inventory, and then you can actually see monthly as well, and pulls everything through for you naturally. So the other thing I wanted to touch on was sharing. So what our platform gives you the ability to do very easily is share with your trusted advisor. So on the accounting side of things, generally it's your accountant or bookkeeper. You're just going to click this more, and you're going to go into sharing. And what you can do is, instead of sending files back and forth or saving it onto a USB and taking it to your accountant, today's virtual world makes things a lot easier. You can click share access and basically just add them as a shared user. So if you have them in the system already, you can just click them, or you can add them. So it's just a matter of putting their email in, and then their first name. And what they'll do is they'll get a notification. They accept that, and then they can go into your file and make their adjustments while you're actually working in the new fiscal year. So it makes things a lot easier and a lot more streamlined, and saves a lot of time. As you can see, you can share one accounting, or share field, or share both. Same thing on the field side of things. If you want to share with the agronomist, if they want to go make some observations or queue up some activities for you, they can do that in here as well. So that's where you share your file with them. So that's kind of what I wanted to show you, how adopting a solution like Ag Expert Accounting can really help you access your financial information a lot easier, and really cuts down on the amount of time in the end that it takes to access your information and get things done. So it also allows for a lot quicker and efficient decision making as well. So thank you very much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time, and really appreciate your engagement. So we will be around for a while in the chat for a live session. If you want to ask any questions about field, about accounting, or just about digitization in general, we'll be around. So thank you for your time. We really appreciate it, and have a great day.
Thanks so much, Chris and John. Super interesting presentation, and hopefully you hear from some of our attendees who want to digitize their farm records. We have a quick break right